destination sets off to the Republic of Panama to explore this Central American country. One that's flourished into a global hub and rises to the expectations of any world traveller. Its gateway to the world, Panama City, is surprisingly eclectic, juxtaposing modern marvels next to classic venues. Its legacies come in the forms of culture, culinary and biodiversity, and can be seen everywhere from its highlands to its lowland regions. Its pastimes are full of possibilities. For those wanting to be in the centre of it all, to those pursuing the solitude of inspirational and private getaways. All of this elevates Panama as one of the world's alluring destinations. We begin our travels in the cosmopolitan capital of Panama City. It's the pulsating spot for business, trade and culture. Here we're greeted by a soaring skyline, like that of a Hong Kong, a Dubai or a Miami. One, though, that still holds on to its Latin American roots. Those roots have a strong colonial heritage, one that lures visitors in grand numbers to its historic quarter, known here as Casco Viejo. We meet up with restoration architect Itzel Quiros. A walk with her through these olden streets, and they seem to come alive with history.
This is the famous Arcochato. It was built to support the cross of the church. One of the most important things is the structure. When it was built without supports. So that was a really architectural challenge by that time.
The ruins resemble only a shell of its original structure, almost a complete outdoor experience. But if there's one thing that always lures tourists in, it's seeing gold. We go to find that next.
We are now inside the San Jose Church. Inside we find the golden altar. It was built in the 18th century. It's made of hand-carved wood, and in some parts it's painted with gold paint, and mainly in the floral ornaments it's covered with gold leaf.
Things here are relatively close, certainly all in walking distance.
We call it Plaza de Francia because of this monument. It was built in the early 1920s to honor the French attempt of build the canal.
Leaving the picturesque old wall behind, we head to perhaps the most iconic landmark in the country, the Panama Canal, and we're going to cruise it. If there is ever a tour that touts the journey over the destination, this would be it. Says so Martin Harrington, our guide from Canal Bay Tours, for this bucket list style voyage. We begin the initial move out of the marina onto the open waters, and this is when we first see the string of ships waiting for their entry into the canal. Today, like every day, Martin says some 35 to 40 ships will traverse the canal. If you think that spending a couple of hours on the canal can get boring, think again. There's always something to see, like this national monument.
Directly in front of us, we have the Bridge of the Americas. This is the oldest of the two bridges that permanently link and connect the two landmasses of the continent. Well, we have a tradition that we always ask the guests to warm up to their better halves and give each other a little kissy-kissy just when we go under the bridge.
Martin can rest assured that on this trip, tradition wasn't broken. We now enter the Miraflores locks, taking our place behind a colossal freighter. This modern marvel is over 100 years old, and it continues to run like clockwork. Just look at the enormous door swinging back, closing us in. You can overhear Martin telling tourists to think of the canal's locks as water elevators that will raise them up in 3 stages.
It'll take us approximately from 8 to 9 minutes to be raised those 9 meters. This is really the beauty of understanding the dynamics of the Panama Canal. Water was transferred by gravity.
As we near the final stretch, nature seems to take over. At this point, the canal feels more like a river than something man-made. And then, a colossal cruise ship passes us by in the opposite direction, putting things back into perspective.
Welcome to Panama!
And just like that, our partial transit tour ends here, near the Gamboa rainforest. As you can see, Panama City has a lot to offer. And when it comes to pleasing the palate, well, it's no different. Gonzalo Orna from Intrepid Urban Adventures takes us on a walking food tour that reveals Panama's must-try list. Topping it, it's Panamanian coffee.
Yo, Alberto.
Hey, Gonzalo. Welcome, man. How are you?
Good, good. Tell me a bit about geisha coffee.
Panama geisha actually comes from Ethiopia, from a town called Geisha, or Gesha. And it got in the 60s. We've grown it since then, and it really has a lot of floral, a lot of jasmine, a lot of citrus, and fruity flavors, which makes it a really unique cup.
Being so unique, it recently broke some records.
So in the Best of Panama auction this year, it sold for $601 per pound in green before roasting, which is a world record, making it the world's most expensive coffee.
Can I taste that most expensive cup of coffee?
You got it. I just brewed a fresh cup for you.
Thank you very much, Alberto.
Yeah, you got it.
Now we go from coffee to chocolate.
And not many know that cacao is another Panamanian food staple.
This is a really good tasting chocolate. How do you guys make it taste so well, and how do you guys get to have a whole bar of chocolate without it melting in the heat in Panama?
Well, we use a splash of milk, raw cane sugar, and cacao. And we don't use machines, we just use a wood spoon, and that's it.
Thank you very much, Yasmina. Now move on to a very important part of the tour, the beers.
Enjoy it.
Beer indeed is a favorite among the locals, but what's trending now are the craft breweries. On this tour, we visit Panama's first.
We have 5 different types of beer always in our house: Blanche, Pils, Pale Ale, Porter, and IPA. And also a seasonal that this time is gonna be Hefe Bison.
Of these, which one is your favorite?
For me, the Pale Ale is the best.
I love porters.
Our next stop has us walking a bit further, outside the old city walls, to the popular Mercado de Mariscos, or the city's seafood market for ceviche.
Panamanian-style ceviche, gracias, is a very simple recipe. It's the fish with the lime juice, diced onions, sometimes a little bit of celery, culantro, and that's it. De verdad está bien bueno. And now on the last leg of the tour, we'll be trying some aged rum at Tántalo.
For him, this final tasting offers the best pairing the city has to offer: Panamanian rum and a panoramic view seen from the restaurant's iconic rooftop bar. This slice of nightlife is one that you'd expect to find in a city as vibrant and metropolitan as Panama City. Local urban legend claims that Panama is the center of the earth. A trip to one of its national parks, Soberanía, gives you a sense of why Panamanians believe it to be so. The best way to experience its grandness is by riding up 600 meters through the forest canopy on the only aerial tram tour in the country, run by the Gamboa Rainforest Resort.
Tal Alejandro, ¿cómo está? Buenas tardes, bienvenido, pase adelante. Gracias.
José Soto is the resort's go-to guide for specialty tours. Just getting here becomes clear why Panama is booming in the recent trend in tourism for experiential travel.
Don Vidal, he walks every morning from the bottom to the top.
¿Cómo está?
Da una vueltecita de arriba. Hello, how you doing?
Once off the tram, the trek goes even higher to reveal some breathtaking panoramas seen from the 30-metre-high observation tower. Up here, we set our sights on the old pier town of Gamboa and a spectacular view of the serpentine part of the Panama Canal. José takes us back down to experience what's known as the Nature Labs, a 3-stop tour of what lives in the rainforest, from butterflies to orchids and, yes, even poisonous frogs.
Any frogs outside?
The rainforest is home to Dendrobates auratus, more commonly known as the poison dart frog. José tries to check in on these shy creatures at least 3 times a week and says he loves to catch the reaction of the visitors.
Whoever is passionate about wildlife, they will always love frogs, especially these poison dart frogs, because they're poison. And people is like, I want to see, an animal that's poison, but the ones we have here, they don't have the toxins that will actually kill a human.
Though tourists shouldn't expect to touch them. From time to time, some guests are in for a special treat as José or the frog keeper enter the pen to pull one out for an up-close encounter.
It takes a little while because they can jump all over. It's easy for them to hide. But yeah, people love it because you can see it closer. You can see their vibrant colors closer. So every time I come and I have a chance, I'll pick one.
But not everyone fancies a frog, no matter how colourful it is. So next up, we go in search of the iridescent blue morpho butterflies.
One of the greatest things about this place is that it only takes 20 minutes to get here from Panama City. And we have more than 500 adult butterflies on fly and more than 40 species living in this butterfly garden.
In here, it's definitely a soothing place. But José admits that nowadays tourists are in search of more than just the memories. They want the perfect picture. And believe it or not, the pursuit of any butterfly is harder than catching a frog.
This blue one right here, see? It's going everywhere. Butterfly, you don't know where it's going to go. They have this very erratic fly. Some butterflies feed on rotten fruits. They feed on the fermenting juice that has alcohol. As a joke, we say they're drunk and that's why they have this erratic fly.
And if you want a snapshot of the blue morpho, things get even more complicated.
It's almost guaranteed you're going to see it here. It's hard to get a picture of it because when they sit down, they fold their wings back, they look brown, they're pretending to be a leaf. So if you want to get a photo, you have to chase them around.
Fresh from chasing butterflies, the final stop here at the resort envelops its visitors in the stillness of an orchid nursery.
Some people may not know that our national flower is actually an orchid. Okay, so our national flower is not in bloom now. So this is an dendrobium. They're not native to Panama, they're from Asia. We like these ones because they're always in bloom and they help us to illustrate the floral parts of an orchid, as well as this cattleya over here. Look at that, beautiful.
Being outdoors in Panama can be oh so relaxing, but equally adventurous. We leave behind the Soberania National Park and head further inland to a famed volcano crater. In fact, it's the largest inhabited volcano crater in the world, known as the Valley of Anton, commonly referred to as El Valle or the Valley, where we discover a growing trend in Panama, all-terrain vehicle off-roading. This trail in particular has us deep in the jungle in search of a waterfall. In order to find it, we meet up with Neil Stein, owner and head guide of the tour.
What I do love with the tour every day is that I'm meeting people who are super adventurous like myself.
You need to be adventurous to enjoy the challenging terrain, and Neil knows these trails very well. Just this year, he's guided more than 110 tours. This ATV odyssey can get wet and dirty, crossing 6 streams and steep terrain that spans 16 kilometers in each direction. After the first leg of impressive trails, Neil stops at one of his favorite spots for pictures, a sort of lookout to endless greenery.
Where we're at right this moment, we're probably just about an hour from El Valle. We're in the mountains. There are names for each of these little districts here in the mountains, but these are mountain people that are living here in these homes with no electricity. These are like, just the most kind people you'll ever meet. As you saw, it's all jungle, it's beautiful.
Riding along with Neil on this journey is Alex Rodriguez. He drives part-time for the tour and says because of the nature of the trail, everyone, including him, needs moments like these to take it all in.
Oh, it's peacefully here. It's, the clouds, the green stuff, it's a pleasure to live here. It's treating with people. People travel with very good energy when they come to these places. We can breathe good air. What can I say? We don't suffer, we don't stress up here.
After the panoramic pit stop, we get going for the final haul. At last, we arrive to see why people are making this trek. It's for the 31-meter waterfall, known as the Tavida Waterfall, and it's just the perfect pairing for this adrenaline-filled drive. All over Panama, these tours are springing up, enticing new wildlife adventures for the most daring of travellers. Some travellers' recent awakening to Panama has had to do with the archipelago of Bocas del Toro, often referred to as Panama's Sleepy Islands. Its 9 main islands and 52 cays are picture-perfect, stirring, wondrous thoughts, sparking a trek to visit the Caribbean side of Panama. Bocas, as it's called by the locals, offers a daily dose of adventure and relaxation. It just depends what you're in the mood for. We arrive here in the city of Bocas Town on the main island of Colón, like most tourists, flying directly from Panama City. We find a modest and laid-back capital with one main road and no streetlights. But what it does have is a major waterfront appeal. And the allure here are stilts. All over Bocas del Toro, there's an entire lifestyle built around stilt living and island hopping. No one knows this better than Erin Williams, whose off-the-grid resort Azul Paradise and her 10 overwater bungalows draw tourists into the neighbouring Bastamentos Island to experience what some travellers refer to as wanderlust. So we wander off to her secluded beach, and this is the first view we get of the boutique hotel. Boating around in Bocas, it's easy to see why it's been declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site as Panama's first national marine park. The short walk from the pier to the lobby makes you want to take your shoes off. And just like that, the surroundings immediately envelop us with a tone inspired by Bocas' solitude and serenity. After wandering the grounds, we find a yoga studio, an outdoor lounge bar, and a quaint pool, and that's just beachside. But it's 50 metres out on the water where visitors love to be. Both Erin and her husband Martin have for the last 3 years painstakingly transformed this natural sanctuary into a destination.
So this is the concept of the whole resort. It's right here. They can go to bed with the windows open and feel the sea breeze, and then in the morning or through the evening they can hear the waves below their bungalows. It's more secluded, more serene, and it's just being with nature out here. We actually catch our power from the sun, and we catch our water from the rain. And with that, we do have backup generators because we're taking like an eco-rustic lifestyle and adding just enough luxury to make you comfortable.
Adding that sometimes the best thing to do is to go back to the basics in pursuit of the simplicity of leisure, something that sits very well with the worldly travellers making it out to her beach.
Never would have thought Panama, it's Central America, beautiful, it's heaven. We paddleboarded every single day. That to us was the most amazing part. I mean, every day we would go out probably like a mile at least. and just do our own thing on our own time.
But if you ask Erin or Martin the success of this barefoot endeavour, it's partly location, but also the people that work here. Aside from the Panamanians, they hire the Nobe Bugle, indigenous people of Panama, who've been incorporated in the hospitality industry as true ambassadors of their native land. As we walk through the resort, even at its full capacity, the feel is still very private. For Erin, it's not surprising at all that guests find it hard to leave their villas. But when they do, she urges them to really enjoy what's around, both on and off the premises.
For those, sometimes you get antsy laying around because it's not our culture in, in the Western world. We have a variety, books full of tours you can do.
And it's one of those tours that Erin hints at that we head to next.
We are going to Starfish Island, which is one of our favorites. It's off the beaten tours of Bocas, which is an exclusive tour of Azul Paradise, which presents the untouched beauty of a mangrove and all the roots and the starfish that live within.
Where at any given moment you can find dozens of starfish on the sand floor.
The best part about what we do is we get to educate all of our clients as far as no touching, no standing on any of the coral or any of the starfish or fish or anything. So it's just seeing them in their environment.
But the lure for Bocas' natural beauty isn't only for the curious and water enthusiasts. Scientists from the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute established a site on the main island of Colón to study the terrestrial and marine biodiversity. After a wonderful swim, it's time to head back to the villas at Bastimentos Island. As the day begins to wind down, the sky seems to take over with its sultry colours, begging the question, how to end a day at Bocas del Toro? For the Williams, it's the stillness of the ocean and its glass-like waters that entice them for a late paddleboard run. It's just one of the many ways they have enjoying these Caribbean nights. This is Panama, the small Central American country that's flourished and blossomed into a global hub. One that sits at a wondrous crossroads between two continents and two oceans. The result? Endless possibilities for the traveller in search of both leisure and adventure.